Welcome to Midwest Paranormal Presents Paranormal Soup. I'm your host, Jason Bland, and tonight our guest is Don Allison. He's a journalist and editor, award-winning journalist and editor for a newspaper. He is also an author of a book, I Met a Ghost at Gettysburg. We're going to be talking about his experience from going from skeptic to believer when he had his own paranormal experiences. And of course, what we do every Sunday night is the World Wide Web of Weird, so we got some good news stories for that. Don't forget, people, we are streaming out to Facebook Live into Late Night in the Midlands Radio Network. All right, guys, we'll be with you in just one sec. Welcome to another night of Paranormal Soup. As I said before, I'm your host, Jason Bland. Tonight, our guest will not be joining us we've had a few shows in a row. Got lucky to have guests on Google Hangouts video, but not all guests can do that. But his audio is really good. We had him on phone. We'll be calling him after the first commercial break to start the interview, but we always want to do the World Wide Web of Weird. Always going to do that. But let me bring on my lovely co-host here, Jamie D. How you doing tonight, Jamie?
Doing good. I'm excited to listen to some ghost stories tonight. Yeah,
especially about Gettysburg and the Civil War. I've always had a fascination with the Civil War, one of the bloodiest wars in man's history. And, definitely still scars in this country now, and ghosts. And I've never got to go to Gettysburg, so I'm interested to hear about it one day. It's on my bucket list of places to visit for paranormal investigation.
The same thing, definitely.
Well, you ready? Let's go ahead and roll into the World Wide Web of Weird. Tonight on the World Wide Web of Weird, we're going to start off with one of my favorite subjects. I know I have a ton, but this is definitely up there on the top of the list, is could we be living inside a multiverse that's full of alien life? This is a new study suggesting this in an article on independent.co.uk. All right, let me pull up. We are streaming live to Late Night in the Midlands Radio Network on the radio, terrestrial radio, and on the internet. This is also a webcast. You can view it at Midwest Paranormal Presents Paranormal Soup's Facebook page, where you'll see, oops, there we go, make sure I got the screen right here, video, pictures, all that kind of good stuff. A lot of pretty much articles tonight. I try to narrate it the best I can. Oops, I got the wrong screen up here. I'm already off my game. What the heck? Wrong one. For people watching, though, we do play out to Late Night in the Midlands, and Late Night in the Midlands people listening, you can always tune back later, watch the archives if you want to ever see something we talk about on the World Wide Web of Weird. But I understand. I like to listen to a lot of shows, too. And we play music you cannot hear on Facebook there, too. So just remember, people on Facebook, if it goes quiet, because we're playing music into a commercial break. All right. So this is Jeffrey Chan on our World Wide Web of Weird video engineer is going to be pulling up the pictures and video. It's this first one, not really any pictures, just a picture of the article. We could live inside a multiverse that is full of alien life, new study suggests. We might not be as lucky as we think. What does that mean? There might be plenty of aliens living in other universes, according to a new study. Whether we live in a universe that is just one of many inside a multiverse is a question that has long troubled astronomers. And after asking that, another question that is even more perplexing follows. Would those other universes contain life of their own? Now, new research has shown that if that multiverse exists, it could be filled with many examples of different alien life. Scientists use vast computer simulations to predict that other parts of your multiverse multiverse would be far more hospitable to life than we had previously thought, but it also causes major problems for the idea of the multiverse. In fact, the strangeness of our own universe might be better explained by undiscovered natural law, they said. The idea of multiverses comes about because, in physics terms, our universe is very lucky to exist at all. So it's kind of, we're lucky to be here. That's what they mean. Well, you know, I believe... one of the things I say about all the alien encounters people have, and we got Rob Autry just joined us in the panel from St. Augustine, Florida. How you doing tonight, Rob? One of the things that always interests me about the multiverse theory, you know, the idea that UFOs and all these different aliens, I mean, like 72 species of aliens, or how many it is, the list gets larger on this planet. Well, why would all those aliens travel all that long distance to come here? But what if they're not traveling very far because they're from parallel versions of Earth where different creatures and life forms exist? Just an idea, just a thought. That's why I like that story. All right, moving on. This one, my wife came to me with this article. I'm like, that's got to be fake news. And it probably is. But I saw it come up on a number of different paranormal and weird news sites. So I figured I'd address it because my wife thought this was a funny story. Chinese family discovers pet dog actually is a black bear after 2 years. This comes from Asia1.com. A Chinese family recently discovered that the dog they adopted in 2016 is actually a black bear. Sun Yun bought what she thought to be a Tibetan Mastiff puppy 2 years ago and brought it home with her family in the Kamung city of Yunnan province. I probably butchered that. After a holiday vacation, according to a report by the ChinaNews.com via Independent. The puppy surprised Yun's family with its appetite. Yun said the animal could down a box of fruits and 2 buckets of noodles every day. Wow. They only found out... Yeah, go ahead.
The fruit should have been the first clue that it's not a dog.
Or maybe when it probably ate somebody else's puppy. They only found out 2 years later what kind of animal their family dog really was when it grew into a 250-pound black bear. The Yunnan Wildlife Rescue Center identified the animal as an Asiatic black bear, also known as the white-chested bear. The Wildlife Organization lists the bear as a vulnerable species. The rescue center measured the animal to be around 1 meter tall. They had to sedate it before it could be transported to a facility. The Asiatic black bears could fetch a large amount of money when sold on the black market. I still think it's a BS story. I saw it on a lot of different sites. I'm like, really? You would not notice that it's a bear at all at some point? I mean, it just seems like... You know, my wife heard this. I'm like, it's got to be fake news. And I saw it it's on Unexplained Mysteries. I think I saw it on Coast to Coast's website. You know, I'm like, it's got to be, it can't be true. How do you not know? I mean, when it takes off with like the next neighbor's cat, I mean, oh yeah, it's a dog thing. But when it starts eating like other little puppies, then you wonder, it had to have done something like that. Come on. All right, let's move on.
A puppy and a bear cub are completely different.
Yeah. Wow. Imagine the poop they had to clean up in that yard. All right, but man, my little dogs poop some, man. I can imagine what a bear's going to do. All right, the house had to be nasty. Okay, let's move on. This is nasty. I always, you know how I am about the serpents or the sea creatures that wash up on shore. You know, they always look like big turds of something. But this actually does look like something very sinister. It's like an eel-like creature. The sea serpent or a dead eel, strange creature with jagged teeth found washed up on Mexican beach, lived in the darkest, deepest parts of the sea. This comes from dailymail.co.uk, so take it as what it is. It's a maritime serpent or lizard. The remains of a marine creature washed on the shore of a Mexican beach have prompted a range of answers since the photo was appeared on social media. Beatriz Morales Acuna was walking along the side in Mazatlan, where she stumbled upon the marine animal, which had been expelled from the Pacific Ocean, according to El Dario. She said, when I left the beach, there it was. Nobody had approached it because they thought it was a rope from a sailboat. So Beatrice posted images of her finding on the Facebook to help identify the creature. Some suggested it's a moray eel, while others said it might be a sea serpent. Beatrice said, I learned that it's a kind of eel, only lives in the deepest parts of our ocean. Man, that thing's creepy. I don't know. I think they make it look way bigger than it actually is. I would love to really get like a size thing. It's probably really small, but either way, small, big, whatever, I would never get near it. So I don't want to go in the ocean for any reason because of things like that. It's
big
creepy.
Small, it's got a lot of teeth.
Right? They kind of put it, but you see the boats behind it, but like how far is it from the boats? It makes it look really big. All right, let's move on. All right, so this is interesting. I was listening to the Secret Teachings with Ryan Gable today. That's on Saturdays, Sundays, and Wednesdays at 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. Eastern. And he brought this up. I'm like, oh, that's going to be my World Wide Web of Weird today. And I mean, they really got in depth on this, and I'm not going to get that in depth on it, but I find it interesting. This comes from Unexplained Mysteries and it's been on a lot of other sites. Scientists achieve memory transplants in snails. The study, which published recently in the Journal of El Neuro, involved transforming a form of genetic information known as RNA, or I'm not going to even try to say it. I'm not a scientist. RNA, that's what it is, from a nervous system of one snail to another. The experiment sought to learn more about how memory exists within living organisms. Before the transfer took place, the first group of snails were sensitized using electric shock to exhibit a certain defense reaction. And it couldn't be something pleasant, a memory that's pleasant. No, they got to shock the poor damn snail. What Ryan Gable brought up on his show earlier today is that they did this like 4 years ago, I think he said, on mice. They did a similar kind of test, but this is more focused, I guess, on RNA through the DNA. After the transfer, the recipient snail began to exhibit the same defensive reaction, though it was them that had been trained in the first place. So it's like they're zapping it, and then they pass that same memory on to the other snail, and it reacts even though it's not being zapped because it has that memory. But the question is well, how far are they going to take this? And I believe, like Brian was saying on his show, that they already are past this. The military, they've already done stuff that's way beyond this. And who knows what they're doing.
By the time we hear about it, they've already been well past it.
And they could be, implanting memories, erasing memories, making new personalities. I mean, it could be total recall or something. It's scary, And when scientists are sick bastards, man. They got to they could have thought something pleasant for the snail, maybe to test it, but no, they had to use shock. They had
and
the shock.
What about polygraphs? Like, you're not going to have to worry about a polygraph now. You can just extract their memory and put it in whoever's working on the case, and they can say, "Oh yeah, you did shoot him because I see your memory."
Or they just use it as the ultimate brainwashing mechanism. That's my fear. All right, moving on. This one is a Bigfoot sighting. No video or picture or video or anything. This comes from Unexplained Mysteries, but I thought it was an interesting story. Don't get too many Bigfoot ones. This is couple report Bigfoot sighting in New Jersey, Wednesday, May 16th. The report is one of several dozen to have arisen in the northeastern U.S. state over the last few decades. The incident, which occurred in Pine Barrens, involved a woman named Tricia, who had been driving through a densely wooded region with her husband back on April 7th. According to the report she submitted to the Bigfoot Research Organization, she saw a large bipedal creature bound on the road before quickly disappearing again into the trees nearby. I am driving in a split second. I saw something down on two legs, about 6 feet tall, sprint behind the car in the area we were just in, she wrote. I caught it in my rear view mirror. I stopped the car and my husband told me to go in reverse. As we approached the area, he thought he heard branches snapping and a splash into water. A local news report detailing the sighting can be viewed. Oh, that's part of that. Yeah, you can find a video of the news article on there. But, Bigfoot's hanging out in New Jersey. They're crossing roads like that. One of these days, somebody's going to hit them with a car, like Harry and the Hendersons. When's that going to happen? I don't want one to die. I really don't. But eventually, some Bigfoot's going to have a bad day. It's got to happen. Statistically, eventually, one day, at least one Bigfoot is going to get hit by a car. There's going to be a body once. All right, let's move on. All right. This story, I have kind of a love-hate relationship with this. This has been so viral, and that may be why I hate it. And I hate it because to me, it's so simple of an explanation. But God, the internet is baffled. It's baffled by the audio illusion that has the internet baffling of the Yanny and your Laurel. Is this what you hear? Do you hear Yanny or Laurel? And I'll play a little bit of audio here. You tell me, people in the chat rooms. Well, you tell Jamie and Rob and Bill, because I can't really look at the chat rooms right now. Let's see if I can play this here. Yanny or Laurel? Laurel. So that's Yanny or Laurel. Let's go back here. Hold on. Let me see if I can find. Somebody slowed it down. This is where it comes into the difference. Is that if I took this audio and slowed it down, I thought I had that clip where you can slow it down. I can make it sound like it's saying Yanny. And if I speed it up, it's going to say Laurel because it's going to change the pitch. And it depends. Your devices do different, it comes out of a certain speaker, the pitch will change. The resonance isn't the same. But most of the time, it's caused by the speed of it. So everybody's hearing this time. I heard Laurel on that, but I don't know what's coming through over the internet. It could come out Yanny.
I heard the same thing.
Okay.
I heard the same thing.
Yeah,
the first
I think
time I heard the first way.
Yeah, but when I heard it over one crappy thing, it said Yanny.
Exactly.
It's just all the acoustics, man, and it's the speed and pitch. That's all it is, people. And that's why I tell people when they edit their EVPs not to overdo it, especially with slowing it down. Because you can actually change what is being said by you're slowing it down. You were going to say something, Rob?
I kind of hear them both.
See, I don't hear Yanny on that one, but I wish I had that video where I could play it, where it slows it down and speeds it up, because it proves it perfectly, because they make you hear both. It's not working. Oh, well, moving on. But I think that was, it's the big story that's gone really viral. I think I don't know why people are so baffled. I don't know. I just don't know why people are so baffled. All right, this next one's a video. It's going to have some audio. This is coming from Argentina. Guard films ghost hunting Argentina football stadium. I'm going to let him go ahead and just play, and I'm going to narrate a little bit because he speaks Spanish. And for the radio audience, I'll let you know what he's saying, and the video audience might be able to read the words on the screen. But go ahead and play it, Jeff. He's walking through some kind of facility. It's 11 o'clock at night.
La tercera vez que estoy escuchando este ruido de mierda.
He's been hearing banging noises all night.
No sé qué está pasando, pero lo quiero grabar ahora para que después me crea la gente, porque
he's saying, I don't know what's down here. And he's never happened to him before, and it's terrifying, he says. But I really no habla español. He curses his bad luck at having to deal with the frightening ordeal. He's going down the stairs slowly.
Puta que te parió. La puta que te parió.
You see this door slamming.
Concha de la lora. La concha de la lora.
All right, now the good part's coming up. The money shot of ghost hunting.
Como mierda.
He doesn't see anybody in there.
Tercera vez.
And there he goes, just going on by. Digighost. I think it's a Digighost. This isn't viral. I don't know. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's a real thing. I really couldn't tell you. I'm not an expert.
Sounded like somebody kicking in the side of a file cabinet.
Yeah, but that was the door slamming. But you do see a black shadow go zooming by really quick. And I see so many of these videos that come out of India and all these other things. At the end of this video, it's from a Daily Mail. You see it says, "We take cash for videos." So this video is really viral. Did they get cash for this video? He got ripped off. I mean, people are gonna, it's motive. We shouldn't be offering cash for these videos, man. If they want to put it out for the scientific community to look at, cool. But this is too much motive for people to just fake stuff like this. Maybe it's real. Maybe it is real. He seems scared, but I think they took a scared security guard with the door and let's add some special effects. I don't know.
The paranormal Inquirer.
Yeah, I've seen my own black shadows, so it could be real.
It could be real. I've seen it too. I've never caught it on camera, but I don't know. I think it's Digighost or Digicabra. Digifoot. Copyright or trademark Todd Reinert. Okay, that's it for the World Wide Web of Weird. I do want to get to our guest here. We're streaming out live to Late Night in the Midlands Radio Network, and we're streaming out to Facebook at Midwest Paranormal Presents Paranormal Soup. If you're on either one or want to come switch back and forth and check them out, because we do play music out to Late Night in the Midlands Radio Network. Last week, I accidentally played music out to Facebook. Whoops. Today, let's hope we don't have that issue. But yeah, we play music, so you hear a little bit of quiet. You don't get to hear what's going on, but we will be back. Don't freak out after this commercial break. All right. Tonight on Paranormal Soup, our guest is Don Allison. Testimonials throughout recorded history proves beyond a reasonable doubt that ghosts or energy giving us impressions of ghosts do indeed exist. People with impeccable reputations with no reason to lie have sworn to paranormal encounters. For whatever reason, perhaps fear, perhaps superstition, many people refuse to even consider the possibility of ghosts. In fact, they will go on the attack against those who do share these experiences. Veteran award-winning daily newspaper editor Don Allison used to be among those devout skeptics, even going so far as to doubt his own grandmother's grandmother's claims of experiences in a haunted house. But after encountering the unexplained many times, he reluctantly concluded he indeed had experienced the paranormal. Eventually, after what he described as a mind-blowing paranormal encounter at Gettysburg, he couldn't contain his curiosity any longer. He decided to write about his experiences and go a step further to share the science behind what he had encountered. The results are from his first volume of Faded Banner Publications, I Met a Ghost at Gettysburg, A Journalist's Journey into the Paranormal. That's our guest tonight, Don Allison. Let's get with the show. You there with us, Don?
Yes, I am.
Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm excited to talk about ghosts in Gettysburg. As I was saying before the show, I've never been to Gettysburg. I've always been interested in the Civil War and, of course, the paranormal. And I've seen some incredible evidence come out of Gettysburg, videos and pictures, and evidence I believe. It just seems like it's a rich place for weird things and ghost stories.
It's a rich place, really, to just soak in history if you just do a little reading about what went on there and then stand on the field. It's pretty awe-inspiring. Even without paranormal evidence, the paranormal just, I guess, is an added part of the experience.
Yeah, to me, I mean, I've seen the video of like soldiers walking in the background. That one family had got and they'd seen over many nights and decided to set up a camera. And to me, that's pretty legit. It looks pretty incredible. I've heard other people's stories. I've known investigators have gotten evidence there. I'm like so jealous. I want to go. For you, how did this all end up? You said you were a skeptic. You were a devout skeptic, is your description in your bio. What were the turning points for you to make you start looking like something you wanted to write about and you were interested in?
Well, yeah, I've been to Gettysburg many times through the years. The first visits, really nothing paranormal, at least that I could ascertain. But my wife and I are restoring an 1830s house in Northwest Ohio.
Oh, wow.
And just some of the things that have happened here, I mean, I had to pinch myself at times, like, did this just happen? Did I just hear this? Did I just feel this? And I guess the first really hint of what was going on, we had just purchased the house. It was in very poor shape. It took us years of work. We live here now, but we're outside, we're cleaning up, and a gentleman pulls in the driveway and comes almost running over to us, very excited. Turned out he had rented the house for many years, like over 2 decades. And his first words are, "Do you know this house is haunted?" and I hate to say that what popped into mind was this explains all the empty booze bottles or half-empty booze bottles we're finding hidden around the house.
Oh.
I mean, that really.
So you're saying like, this guy's been drinking?
Yeah, it was like, okay. At that point, I hadn't really had anything that had won me over, I guess, so to speak. But the one story he told that kind of made an impression, as he said he would be downstairs, and he didn't use the upstairs part of the house. As a matter of fact, the middle bedroom, the floor was so water damaged that you couldn't even walk on it. But he said he'd hear footsteps start in the south bedroom, run through the middle bedroom, across the hallway into the north bedroom, and the door would slam. And my wife and I had a good laugh when he left, but it wasn't too long until one evening I was working down in the living room in the middle of the house, and I had that exact experience. And I thought, whoa.
Oh, yeah.
It was a night we didn't have power on in the house. I had a generator powering, a light and tools there in the living room. So I grab a flashlight, I run upstairs, and I'm looking. And as I said before, the floor was so rotten that even a child would have fallen through. And these did sound almost like a barefoot child's footsteps. And I'm looking, there's thick dust on the floor, nothing, no footsteps. And the door that I distinctly heard slam shut, even down to the metallic click of the latch, was actually stuck nearly shut, and it took us a hammer to later on to loosen it. You could not move the door.
It sounds like it's residual. It's like a recording.
That one definitely
Yeah.
seems residual.
But that's the thing. He sets you up for the perfect paranormal experience because residuals are so common to happen again, the same way they happened before. And he laid it out for you, and then it happened. I mean, so was that your first residual haunting kind of experience too?
No, it was not. Actually, the first residual that I heard was footsteps in the living room.
Ooh.
And I would never hear them, and it's odd, I'd never hear them in the same room, but actually it sounded like steps in the hallway and then coming into the living room. And these sounded more like, I do some living history, and I'm familiar with the sound of like older style footwear, and this sounded like a rather large gentleman with leather-soled boots. And we've heard that one many times through the years.
Yeah, either one's creepy. Child's footsteps or a grown-up's footsteps. I've had that experience where you hear footsteps and I've had them where almost right in front of you, but there's nothing there.
Yeah, and later on I have had footsteps, but the strange thing is, even these footsteps, I've had experiences that were, if they were residual, there was substance to them, and then there's definite intelligent hauntings here in the house, very definite intelligent hauntings, and that's really what won me over was the intelligence behind the hauntings.
Well, for when it comes to the debate about the afterlife, people that go down the scientific road will say it's all recordings. They'll give some legitimate sense to residual, but boy, they draw the line when it's intelligent. When you're talking about a spirit, that's where some of the more scientific minds really draw the line. They won't go there. They can see maybe there's certain elements that we're not understanding yet in physics that could be recording history. And replaying it back. I've seen many scientists admit to that. But boy, when you get down to like the intelligent haunting, then that's when some people have a hard time believing, that are the skeptics.
Yeah, when something's reacting to you, it's just hard to dismiss that. And like residuals, one of the things that I've seen is there have been experiments where recordings have actually been made on rusty nails, the iron oxide, like on a cassette tape.
Yeah, I've heard that.
And then when you have you have some static electricity, the right atmospheric conditions, that it can both record and play. And one reason that I wonder if that might not be the case here is the footsteps issue. With the steps running across, we replaced the floor in the bedroom. And ever since, after we had taken the old floor out, I've never heard that again, at least not in that bedroom. We've heard footsteps in the south bedroom.
But that's really interesting. You replace the floor, if that's the recording device, the elements. I remember there was, I can't remember the details, but I know there was a place in France where during the French Revolution, there were soldiers going through this certain area that they ended up building a house on, and people would always see this French Revolutionary soldier walking through a wall in this basement. Well, they did tests on the wall, and they found it had this, just like the nails, had some of those same elements that could be recording. Now, how does it play a full body apparition back? That's different than just sound. People would see a full body apparition. They actually said, what was in the wall or whatever there that he was walking through was somehow like recording it. I'm like, that's too much for me. I can buy sound, but like to say that the wall or the materials they're recording what's happening, like physically projecting something out, to me that's got to be some other element that they don't understand. It's not just something recording and playing back. There's some element to the universe we don't understand. I still think it's residual, that soldier. But I think materials, recording things, impressions like that, it can only go so far to what we understand yet.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with you on that one, but I think metaphysics plays such a role in all this, and I think we just don't have. I just don't think we have the science to understand it. I mean, I'm firmly of the opinion that science is behind all of this. It's just a lot of it is science we don't yet understand.
Exactly. Exactly. I mean, I was talking tonight, one of our stories in World Wide Web Weird was the idea that there's other life in the multiverse. If there's parallel universes, that these other universes contain life. Who's to say what the other side is just another multiverse, another universe that we go to?
Are you familiar with the double slit experiment using light rays?
Yes.
That one, especially in the part about the mind being able to direct the behavior in advance, not just at the time, but in advance, determine how they're going to behave and have them follow that. That, to me, is
it says
incredible.
A lot about reality. We actually talked about that last week with our guest. We had James Goy Jr., who's a attract money guru. So he's all about using your mental power to attract money to you. And he brought the same thing up, that same experiment about how our consciousness at the subparticle level affects reality, affects matter. You still there, Don?
Yeah, yes, I am. And in the fact that they're intelligent hauntings, that there is some sort of energy beings, however you want to describe it, that can interact, that can actually converse with you, that just, to me, is a whole realm of existence I wish we knew more about.
And you wonder, will we? As science goes further, will they open that Pandora's box and find out, the reality behind the afterlife? Is it ever going to be attainable? I don't know. I do want to delve into your experiences though a little bit more. So you lived in a haunted house in Ohio, but you wrote the book. I Met a Ghost in Gettysburg. So I don't know if you want to start delving into that a little bit and that experience and what that book is about.
Sure. I'd say my first experiences at Gettysburg, my first visits there, nothing paranormal occurred, but my wife and I traveled there. We actually honeymooned there. We're both into history and the Civil War. I had family on both sides of the war. And actually, since my book came out, I've found out more about that I can talk about tonight. But one of the things that I wanted to do is we were really delving into the house. We'd had these intelligent interactions, and I thought, well, who's someone in Gettysburg who would be good to talk to? Well, Mark Nesbitt. And I thought, well, with my connections, with the newspaper, I got a hold of Mark. I actually talked to his wife, explained that I'd like to do a story while I was in Gettysburg for the newspaper back home, the Bryan Times. And Mark agreed, and my wife and I met him in his Baltimore Street headquarters. Actually, the part of the building we were in was a wartime structure, and had a nice conversation with Mark. I interviewed him for the paper. He started out as a park ranger. He's a lot like myself, no interest in the paranormal, but as a park ranger, as a bachelor, he would often be housed in some of the wartime houses and on the park, and he said he had multiple experiences to the point that he quit his job as a ranger and went into investigating and writing about the paranormal. And we're talking about some of the things in the house here, and he's, very understanding. Yeah, you're not losing your minds. These are very common things. Actually turned out pretty run-of-the-mill things, which made us feel good. When we're done with the session, I took some pictures of Mark. I thought, well, it'd be nice to get my wife with Mark. So she sits in a chair beside where he's at. I go to take their photo, and my camera quit working. This is odd. I had just checked everything out before going to see Mark. The batteries are fine. I switched out the batteries. The same thing. As soon as I would press the shutter, the camera would turn off. I'm a little bit embarrassed by this whole thing, and Mark Nesbitt just starts laughing and says, "Don't worry about it, Don. That sort of thing happens here all the time." He had shared some of his experiences and the experiences of others there in the house, but I tried and tried and tried. I finally got 2 photos of Diane with Mark in probably more than 24 tries, and we leave. One of the photos is in my I Met a Ghost book. We go about our business in Gettysburg, checking out things and whatnot. There's a very rainy day, So we went to the former Boyd's Bears headquarters, which was at Gettysburg. My wife collected them. On our way back, we get just to the edge of the park, and the rain stopped. Hey, this is cool. We can go to Little Round Top. I've always been fascinated with Little Round Top for whatever reason. I know more now, but at the time, I really didn't. We turned onto Confederate Avenue, and I had forgotten that the Alabama monument was just a little ways down the road. So we stopped at the Alabama monument. On the way, after turning onto Confederate Avenue, the song Sweet Home Alabama came on the radio. Okay, it was odd, but it wasn't overwhelmingly eerie. I wasn't thinking paranormal.
Unless they have a radio station down there that plays it like 24/7.
Yeah,
right.
Which if I could find one, I'd love the song, but I'd even get bored with it.
Right.
So I parked the van in front of the Alabama monument. The song Sweet Home Alabama is playing. Get out my camera, which had worked perfectly since we left Mark Nesbitt's building. Go to take a picture. I pressed the shutter, and the camera turned off. Same thing. I tried and tried and tried. Finally got 2 pictures out of many, many tries. I'm thinking, this is just weird, As a matter of fact, I'm thinking, damn camera. But anyway, I drive around, then to the short distance to Little Round Top, get out of the van. I walk up to the monument for the 20th Maine. That's the Union regiment that held the Union flank there. And I could not take a picture of the Union monument. The camera had been fine in between the Alabama monuments and this. I could turn and look down the hill and take any photo I wanted, but I could not take the 20th Maine monument. I'm shaking my head, like, what's going on here? Went back to the car. I tell my wife, and she's shaking her head. She's saying this, like, okay. We went further on, and there's other Union monuments. I could not take a photo of a Union monument on Little Round Top, not until I drove off of Little Round Top. Then the camera started working again. That camera never malfunctioned like that again as long as I owned it.
I believe you, Don, because I'm a paranormal investigator, and I've had it happen to me. I've had it happen to other investigators on investigations in a spot that's got a lot of activity, and I've seen multiple cameras at one time not work. And you wonder why and how are they doing that? If that is, or is it just coincidence we're all having malfunctions at the same time?
Yeah, and this just when I can take a picture looking at open space, and then I aim the camera at a monument, and I can't take the photo. That's just beyond understanding, at least. Beyond coincidence, right. Anyway.
Now, did anything come out in those photos? Like paranormal?
Nothing. Any photo that it did take was fine. Nothing out of the ordinary. No apparitions or unexplained orbs or anything like that.
So,
at least on that trip.
Where'd you guys end up staying in Gettysburg?
I'm trying to think on that trip where we stayed. I think we were out on York, and I probably should preface too my experience with Mark Nesbitt's headquarters. That morning when I woke up, or actually as I was waking up, I had a very vivid dream that I was laying on the ground. I had a Union kepi hat, kind of crooked on my head. I had an intense pain in my right arm and shoulder, very intense.
Wow. And
vaguely around me, I could sense other people. There were white canvas pup tents, often set up more as lean-tos over some of the people. There was like moaning. This was a very realistic dream, and it was a relief when I was finally coming to my senses, realizing where I was, and the pain subsided. And that left quite an impression and kind of changed my outlook on the day, too. That I never really shook that for days afterward.
And this is after you've been out gallivanting around the battlefields.
Yeah, actually, we had been on the battlefield that day. I think that was our first night in Gettysburg, but we had arrived during the day. When I got home, I was curious, and I found out that that hotel was on the site of one of the big Union field hospitals set up after the battle. So,
well, I was wondering, I mean, where you're staying, or, did you catch a spirit and then it showed you a vision of its, maybe death, or, that moment and its existence, it passed that on to you? Other people would go, oh, you're having a reincarnation experience, which we've talked about on the show quite a bit. I mean, what is your feelings? Do you feel like that was a spirit trying to communicate its death scene to you?
As I've experienced more and more with the house and at Gettysburg, I feel that I have some limited but very real abilities as an empath or a sensitive.
Yeah.
And I think I was sensing the energy. I was sensing what had happened there.
No, I can believe that. And that's why some people that I've had on the show that don't believe in like the idea of past lives have pointed out, like, a lot of this stuff people think they've had a past life memory. It's actually a spirit passing on its memory to that person in dreams. And I could buy that. I believe in reincarnation, though, but I can buy that as a reason for people having like these vivid memories. I've had them, and I've always wondered: is that a past life, or is that a spirit that tagged along and decided to show me its demise, or a vision of what its life was like?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I tend to, as far as reincarnation, for me, I guess the verdict is out. I don't disbelieve, but I can't say that I truly believe in it either. I just don't know. But yes, the spirit's passing on message, I think, beyond a shadow of a doubt that happens.
And you're sleeping in a spot where people were wounded and being treated, and it was horrible. Everything we know about the Civil War and the conditions of those hospitals. I mean, that's bad mojo there, where you're sleeping.
And actually, I think perhaps the first paranormal experience that I ever had, I did not recognize it as such at the time. It was on a different Civil War battlefield. A good friend of mine and I have been researching, and we're nearing publication on a history of the 38th Ohio Regiment. The 38th was not at Gettysburg. They fought in the Western Theater. They were in the Atlantic Campaign. And they were part of a very critical charge that captured Confederate earthworks, and it was that battle that led to the fall of Atlanta. It basically cut the last railroad going into Atlanta. But my friend and I are there, and where that charge took place is actually in a housing development, and there are remnants of the Confederate trenches that actually sort of surround a point where there's an elementary school. We had a local historian that we'd made arrangements with ahead of time to kind of show us around. There was a low area where the regiment and their color guard and officer were pinned down. And lo and behold, as we come up, there's this low area. There's no houses in it. It was too low to be a yard. It was somewhat wooded. So I walked down into that area, and all of a sudden I felt as like my energy was sucked away, and in my mind's eye I could see the Confederate trenches. I could see where they were, but I could see them as trenches. I could see soldiers in them. I could sense the confusion and the din of the battle. And the 38th Ohio lost nearly half of their men in a 20-minute battle on that spot. And my friend, he was looking at me. He was, probably 40, 50 feet away. He didn't go down into the area. And he's with the historian. He says, "Are you okay, Don?" At first I couldn't even talk. And later, after a little bit, I said, yeah, I didn't want this historian to think I was nuts or something. And later, after we dropped the historian off and we're alone, my friend asked me again, said, "Were you okay?" He said, "You turned white." And then I explained what had happened to him, and I guess I justified it or rationalized it at the time is that I knew exactly what happened there, and my mind was just clicking into it.
Yeah,
But
I mean, you said you're an empath. You're definitely gonna. I mean, heavy emotion, like super heavy emotion on that battlefield, and that it has to resonate with people that are sensitive to that.
And yeah, it is an area where I could tell you exactly what happened there. I mean, I knew who was where I was, what they were doing in that spot. I mean, even the regiment's colonel, when they resumed their charge, just very close to that spot, the flag bearer was shot down. The colonel, who had the flag had been presented by the citizens of Bryan, the colonel pledged to protect that flag with their lives as necessary and return it to the people of Bryan. He picked the flag up off the ground, and as he's straightening up, he was mortally wounded, shot through the lungs. And that happened right where I was at. I knew all of this at the time. So I guess I didn't chalk it up to anything paranormal. I just chalked it up to, I guess, maybe a vivid imagination.
Well, you got to wonder how many people have gone to Gettysburg and had that same experience, and they chalk it up to that too, not realizing there might be something more to it.
And I think there's probably other things that have happened in my life too that I didn't recognize as paranormal, and now looking back, I realize they were. But
well, you mentioned in your bio about your grandmother living in a haunted house, and you didn't believe her stories.
No, I really didn't. And my grandmother, sweet, wonderful lady, I can't imagine her making anything up. She did have a sense of humor, but she wouldn't have joked about this. She was a Southern Baptist minister's wife, but they lived in Louisiana at the time, and she said she would wake up. One time she woke up, saw a man in old-fashioned clothing standing at the foot of the bed looking at her, and he just disappeared. Another time she said somebody sat on the bed. You could see the mattress go down, see the imprint of the posterior, but nobody was there. They would have their covers pulled off in the night. Unfortunately, my grandfather died when I was very young, and I didn't get to hear his explanation or thoughts on the matter. But I hate to say it, but I used to think, yeah, Grandma, you should have laid off the Cajun food before you went to bed.
Right.
I didn't tell her that, of course. I just kind of humored her. But now I don't doubt that she had those experiences.
Those experiences are so classic, though, of people that get tormented. I call it torment because, man, you wake up with somebody at the edge of foot of your bed. That's terrifying. You wake up feeling somebody sit down on the edge of your bed. That's terrifying. You have the covers pulled off. That's completely terrifying.
Yeah.
To anybody, that nobody wants to be messed with in their sleep. And I've heard these stories, being an investigator, these kind of things happening to people. And that's what really freaks people out, is when it messes with them while they're trying to sleep.
And yeah, I've had pretty good luck with that. Now, one thing we do still have here in our house, and it tends to happen at night while we're sleeping, is we hear footsteps, and it sounds like the footsteps that I told you earlier, and those seem to be a residual thing because they did repeat. But I will hear these footsteps on the new floor, by the way, without the old rusty nails.
Ooh.
And also will hear things being moved, like just a few nights ago, like something thumped a water bottle that was on my nightstand. The favorite target is a holder with necklaces of my wives, or my wife, not wives. That would get me in trouble with my wife. But,
let's go talk about that, Don.
yeah,
That's interesting.
But she has several necklaces on a little stand, and you'll hear them rustle when there's the windows are shut. There's no cause for that, and we have an antique wardrobe that you'll hear the door. There's like a squeak to it when you open it, and it's like this door is being moved in the night, and then you'll hear the footsteps on the other side, my wife's side of the bed as well.
And you said earlier about your house is that it's not just residual, there's intelligent. I think when it's touching the the water bottle or the jewelry, that sounds like something that could be more intelligent, because those aren't objects that would have been something that would be residual. So it's something intelligent.
Exactly. And another intelligent one, and I can backtrack a little bit, but the one that really, really won me over, that, okay, there's something intelligent here, is I was working in my living room, again, before we had power turned on to the house. It was at night. I was actually sawing floorboards to replace the upstairs floor, and I had a radio playing, and it was on a classic rock station. And that we have still some, but boy, at that time I was having all kinds of problems with the radios turning off and on, changing stations. Oh. But this particular night, every time the radio played a rather loud, rowdy song, the radio turned off. And after about the third time of this, I got a little bit angry, and I spoke out loud, which was out of character for me at the time. I said, "Hey, don't mess with my radio. I like this music. I want to listen to it. Leave the radio alone." So, okay, a couple songs play, and I remember this song exactly. It was Elton John, "Saturday Night's All Right for Fighting."
Great song.
When that started playing, yeah, I love that song. When that started sounding, the radio didn't turn off. The generator outside on the front porch turned off.
Oh, wow.
I just
They're like
laughed out loud.
It's like trying to cut your power.
It was like, okay, I won't touch your radio.
Oh,
Take
wow.
this guy. And I just laughed. It's like, okay, how do you argue with that? But on other things with the radio, I would come in and a radio would be on, and not only had I not left it on, but it would be at a different station, often to Cleveland Indians baseball. And I'm a Tigers fan. So.
They're really trying to stick it to you. But you know, if I was a ghost, or one day I might be a ghost, I really don't like modern music, more newer music. I really don't like it. It sounds like a bunch of garbage to me, most of it. I can imagine what I'd be like as a ghost in the future, how bad the music would get. I'd be turning whatever electronic devices they're going to be playing it on off so I don't have to hear it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and, well, I'm a baby boomer, so I can definitely relate to some of the newer music not being to my taste. But, but yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, it really does make you wonder. It's this ghost is hearing this, and especially if it's a Civil War ghost or something from that. You said your house was built in, 1830?
And, yeah, 1835, actually.
You can only imagine.
Civil War soldiers grew up here, so two of them didn't make it home.
You can only imagine how our music today has got to be the devil to them, or they would not get it or not understand it.
Yeah, it's one time my wife and I were working outside, and we had a country station on that she likes, and the radio kept turning to a Bowling Green State University men's basketball game.
So they like sports.
Yeah, and it was weird. I bet we tried a dozen different times to put it on different stations and whatnot, and within 30 seconds it was back on the Bowling Green State University men's game. And that's another insult because they're the arch rival to my alma mater, the Toledo Rockets.
Oh, man, they are trying to sting you good. Well, we've heard stories. We had Jimmy Pettinito on here. He talked about a case where the spirits were using a TV to communicate. Like changing the numbers on the cable boxes, like 1980s, those old cable boxes, and it was like changing the numbers. And they were, telling like the police officers that showed up, telling their social security numbers. It makes you wonder what they could do with electronics. Next time they change the radio station, you should try to say, like, all right, let's play a game, and get them to change it to something, test it, see what happens.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, one thing I have not done here at the house is much in the way of investigating. And my theory on that is we have a very peaceful coexistence, and I don't want to rile things up. So my investigating has always been other places. And we do. The house has a great feel to it, a great atmosphere. We love it here. But we do have the goings on from time to time.
Well, when I interview potential clients for investigations, and they tell me like activities similar to what you're talking about having in your home, I always iterate to them like, you might not want us to come do an investigation. Nothing's bothering you. You're pretty comfortable with it, but we come in there, start asking questions, and start poking at it. And now we don't provoke. We don't do anything that's aggressive by any means. We're very respectful. But just going in there, bringing in the recorders and asking questions could open up a whole doorway to new things happening in your home. And I always warn people that, like, you might not want us. I'm interested to come. You have this kind of activity, but if you're comfortable with it and it's not really bothering you, it's just, it could be bothering you by the time we're done.
Yeah, and that we've had other people give us that advice, and we've abided by it. We feel pretty comfortable with the spirits that are here. We think we know who two of them are. We're not positive, of course, but we think we know.
Well, you're empathic. You should pick up on a little bit, maybe. I mean, I always say to clients too that because I think everybody's empathic, honestly, leveling degrees. But I think everybody has the ability. I always tell people, well, what do you feel is watching you? What do you think's making those noises? What's your feeling on it? Because sometimes your feelings could be correct. So what are the feelings of the? You say you think you know who the two ghosts are. Well, tell us a little bit about them. What you think you know.
The one I always, and I think I mentioned the footsteps, the residual, and then now that we will occasionally hear or often hear really around the bedroom at night sound, and I've always had the feeling and the sound of the steps that it's a young girl, barefoot girl. I had I didn't have the experience, but I witnessed it, and it's actually in my book. It happened right when the book was going to go to the printer, and it was so interesting that I held the book up to include this. But we're getting a new clothes washer, and while there are two gentlemen, one has the washer on a wheeled cart at the base of our stairs at our main entrance. Other guy's taking the old one out, and I'm talking to the guy getting the old one out, and the other fellow starts kind of clearing his throat to get my attention. I look over at him, and his eyes are like wide open, his mouth's open, and he was having trouble speaking. And he says, "Can I ask you something?" I said, "Well, sure." And I'm thinking we've had workers have experiences with electric batteries going dead. One guy had his shirt tugged, so I'm thinking, I bet he heard something. I says, "Well, Senator, did you hear something?" I said, "No, I saw something, and I'm majorly creeping out right now." I didn't know if he was going to defecate or run away or both. I mean, just looked, extremely
run away and
strange.
then defecate.
Yeah, I said, "Oh, wait. Nothing here's going to hurt you. What did you see?" He said, "A little girl." And he proceeded to describe, and he said she was plain as could be, but he knew something was off because of her appearance. But she peered from the middle bedroom, our bedroom where we always hear what we think is her, peered out from that room, stepped out to the top of the stairs, and she was wearing like a white play dress or night dress of the 1800s, like knee length, had brown curly hair. From his description, sounded to be like maybe 8 or 9 years old. He said she stood there and looked at him for a while and then walked back into the bedroom.
She should have said, "Come play with us, Danny." That's what I think of The Shining, the two little creepy girls. The kid ghosts are creepy. I mean, it's like it's just a little kid. No, it makes the creep factor goes up when it's a little kid because, one, we talk about this on the show all the time. Like, how is there a ghost that's a kid? Where's the justice? They shouldn't be trapped here. That just seems like the injustice of it. The other thing of that is a lot of times people feel like the ghosts are, it's not a ghost. Demons like to pose as children. That's always put out there. So ghost children, I think, do creep people out more than just regular ghosts.
We did some research. Actually, a good friend of mine turned out to be related to the little girl we found in our research and just shared some more information with me. But a girl, her name was Annabelle. She died in 1882 or 3. I think she was 9 at the time, and she died of bone cancer. The obituary was very descriptive, actually a very horrible case of bone cancer, the way it sounded. She did not live here, but this was her grandparents' home. So she's buried just less than half a mile down the road at the cemetery, and we don't know for sure that that's her, but it sure fits.
It does. And, just because they didn't die there or live there doesn't mean that's not where they're going to haunt. A lot of times ghosts are going to haunt the places they love the most.
And another thing that really, really got me thinking, I was at a paranormal convention in Dundee, Michigan. First one I'd ever attended, by the way. And I'm walking along, and one of the mediums who was there, she's talking to somebody else. I'm just walking by, and she says, "Excuse me, sir, you have a little girl."
Ooh.
And I stopped, and the look on my face must have been
Right.
like, what in the? But she says, no, I'm sorry. You have a little girl attached to you.
Oh, wow.
And she proceeded to describe in much greater detail than I had put in the book, a perfect match to what the gentleman with the washer had seen.
Wow.
And she said she is around you, she's at your home, and she always keeps her distance. She's never right beside you, but she's always a little bit away.
That don't make you feel any better.
Well, but the thing is, she says she's happy. She
that's-
likes you guys, and she's happy. Because my question to her, well, why doesn't she cross over?
Right.
And she said she seems happy. She seems to like you guys. She likes you. And I at the time, my experiences with mediums were almost nil, and I didn't know what to make of this. But it sure was thought provoking.
Yeah, I mean, for her to just randomly call you out, and I've heard these kind of stories all the time. I do believe in mediums. I have friends that are mediums that've blown my mind away with what they can pick up.
I do now. That was my introduction to mediums.
Good introduction.
Heck of an introduction. Yeah.
Well, I'd like to go to our last commercial break here, and then we come back. We can open up the Skype lines tonight. We don't have the phone line open. We just have the Skype line because we got Don on the phone. But when we come back, you can call in and ask questions of Don. Also, we have two chat rooms. There's the webcast chat room on Facebook Live at Midwest Paranormal Presents Paranormal Soup. I don't get to check the chat rooms very much. I try to, but if you want to ask a question, Don, but you can't call in, you could give a question out. Call out to Jamie or Rob or Jeff in the chat room. Jamie and Rob are good because they're in here with me and they can call out your question. And then there's Discord. That is the L&M chat room. If you go to latenightinthe you'll find the chat room there. The link to it to Discord is a great app. You can send me a direct message. I am in that chat room. You'll figure it out. You'll find me, Paranormal Soup. Send me a direct message on there if you got a question. All right, guys, like I said, we're streaming out music to Late Night in the Midlands Radio Network, so if you hear some quiet, don't freak out. That's just the music we cannot play on Facebook, or we'll get in big trouble. When we get back, we're going to talk more about Civil War ghosts, or ghosts of Gettysburg, ghosts in this guy's house, ghosts and stuff. That's what we're going to talk about. My favorite subject, ghosts. All right, when we get back with Don Allison. See you in a few minutes. Tonight's guest is Don Allison. He's a journalist, skeptic, once skeptic turned to a believer after he started reevaluating a number of paranormal experiences he's had in his life, living in a haunted house, and experiences he had at Gettysburg. And I love the stories about the Civil War ghosts, the old ghosts here. I have friends that live in England, and they got way more history and all that. And going back 1,000 years. Here, our old ghost stories, a lot of them revolve around the Civil War. For so many lives lost in that time, that is the heart of our history of this country. And I swear the heart of a lot of our old ghost stories revolve around the Civil War. All right, but there's a couple ways you can call in tonight. Only a couple. We don't have the phone line to call in, so don't call that. But you can call in by Skype. There's the video Skype line where we can actually see you. The guest won't. He's on the phone. That is Soup Live Chat 800 Live Chat. You can call in. Soup Live Chat 800 Live Chat is the Skype ID. Now there's the audio only Skype ID. That is OOJBland00 or OOJBLAND00. Call into that. We can have you on and you can ask questions of Don. But speaking of that, let's get back to our guest. You still there with us, Don?
Yes, I am.
Now we were talking about the experiences you've had in your home and what your grandmother experienced and all these scenes. What was the kind of final tipping hat? It's like, I'm going to write a book about this.
Well, I took my grandson to Gettysburg for a spring break, and it's something until he got older and got involved in spring baseball. We went to Harper's Ferry one year, Perryville, Kentucky one year, but he wanted to go to Gettysburg. so we made the trip there. I had registered with Destination Gettysburg as a journalist. I thought, well, I can write about, what we experience, and it would get us into some things that really weren't available to the general public. Well, one of the things offered was a ghost investigation. And I told Connor, my grandson, what do you think of that? He was 14 at the time. I wanted him to have a good time. He said, yeah, Grandpa, that sounds cool. So
yeah, good 14-year-old.
Well, yeah, so we'll go on that. So I called up the place. I said, yeah, we'll take you to Sachs Bridge. And I was immediately disappointed. I'd been to Sachs Bridge with my wife many years ago. Yeah, it's a cool covered bridge, but it's a covered bridge. I wanted, one of the battlefield buildings or something. They said, no, you'll like Sachs Bridge. So we get there that evening. Very well-versed young lady took us on the investigation. We got our pick of different equipment. Knowing what I know now, I wish I would have gotten at least an audio recorder or a video recorder, but I didn't really. I thought this was just a touristy thing.
Right.
So the coolest thing we had was a spirit box, a ghost box. I thought that was intriguing. Well, we go onto the bridge. There's quite a few people there. It's a very popular place, even though it was like late April at the time. It was, or late March, rather, at the time. It still had a lot of people there. So we go across the bridge from where we parked, and we're out in a field, and it turns out that Sachs Bridge was one vast field hospital. There were just wounded, mainly Confederates. It was part of the Confederate retreat route, and a lot of their badly wounded people who were too hurt to make the trip south were left there. So we're in the middle of a hospital, and we're trying to get answers on the ghost box. We had like a laser grid. We tried the flashlight thing, and no luck. And the only thing we got there was the investigator did say, can you tell the color of coat that any of us is wearing? And we got a very distinct blue, and I was wearing a blue coat, but I must say I was still underwhelmed. We're walking around, nothing.
Right.
Nothing. It was to be a 2-hour investigation. We're going back to the bridge. The investigator kind of was startled, and she said, did you see that? Well, we didn't see it. She said she saw a shadow figure. I don't doubt that she did. She seemed very sincere. We cross the bridge. We go back. My grandson had the same experience on the other side of the bridge. He obviously was startled and saw a shadow figure. That's a very common thing at Sachs Bridge. So we come back. We had the bridge to ourselves, finally. But it's almost at the end of the investigation. But we started getting hits on the spirit box. And, one of the things is, how many of you are with us? 7, 8, 9. And I'm kind of impressed with this. She says, well, what year is it? 1863. Okay, now I'm interested. And then it kind of died off. Well, it was getting rather cold, and our 2 hours is about up. So the investigator goes to start the car. My grandson and I are sitting there, and I'm thinking, okay, I'm into the history. If this is a Civil War soldiers, well, what interests them? I said, do you like jokes? And I got a very clear, yes, sir, very polite. I said, oh, do you like music? And we got a very, very clear, of course, with almost like the spirit was insulted. And my grandson, quick thinking as he was, he says, can you play for us?
Oh.
And absolutely.
It said absolutely?
It said absolutely.
Wow.
There as could be, and we started getting guitar music, acoustic guitar music. And this wasn't, the ghost box works by scanning radio stations.
Right. We use them on the show. We do a show like this once a month, sometimes every other month, where we play different spirit device boxes like that.
And this was like, clear as could be, kind of fading in and out, but over several measures. Then later, a higher pitch, I thought it sounded like a mandolin kicked in. This is when the investigator comes back, and she's just standing there, her mouth's open. She's just staring at the spirit box. And I bet the music played for like 10 minutes, coming and going. And when it finally faded, I said, wow, you're good. And we got a very clear thank you. I said, can you
Wow.
play some more? And he said, yes, sir, very polite. And we got more music. This time harmonica joined in.
Wow.
And I'm just like, I'm starting to think, okay, this is the setup, you know. This
Right.
is
I would be thinking that
superstition.
too. Honestly, as an investigator, I'd be wondering.
But I'm thinking, you know, how did they do this? But they had to be prepared to know we were going to ask about
Right.
music. They had, and I couldn't recognize the song, but I'm very familiar with the period music. And so later we start, the investigator starts asking more questions, and we're getting some very clear answers. You know, what's your name? And we couldn't quite make it out. That was definitely 3 syllables. The middle syllable was a very clear on, and then it sounded like an S, something with an S. But I bet the investigator kept saying, can you enunciate more clearly? We can't understand you, and whatever this was, wanted us to know that name.
Right.
Just kept repeating it over and over. And I'm still thinking, oh, this is just too good to be true. And she asked, like, how old are you? And we got a 20, 20, 20, and then captain.
Oh, wow.
And I'm thinking, how do they pull this off? But so I asked some questions. I says, well, where are you from? And I'm thinking it would be a Confederate. And I couldn't quite understand it. So I'm naming off states and nothing. And I started naming off northern states. When I came to Ohio, we got a yes, sir. And
wow.
I said, my grandson and I are from Ohio, and we each had, all 3 of us had K2 meters. Connor's and my K2 meter went to the very top and stayed there for several seconds. We couldn't get these things to hardly blip, you know, with electronics holding up to them.
Right.
So I'm thinking, boy, these folks are good if this is a hoax. And we got some more answers, and the one at the very end was, she said, the investigator says, were you hurt? And we got the most. It still sends chills down my back to think about it. A total blood-curdling scream, a total anguish, male scream, and then a woman crying at the end. And that kind of took the wind out of our sails. That was the end of it. Now, I peppered this poor girl, young woman, with questions all the way back.
I
trying
bet.
to figure out how they hoaxed us. And she's like, no. And I said, have you ever had music before? No. She said that was the best investigation that she'd ever had.
Well, that's an incredible. I say that for us to do the spirit box communication, you know, on the show, live on the show with people calling in, and we've had some incredible stuff. So I totally believe you. But that direct answering you like that, I mean, that was direct back and forth conversation. It's rare. It's hard to get that kind of connection. We do get it, but it's rare, and that's incredible.
Well, when I got home, I was bound and determined to figure out how I had been had. I did not believe this was real.
I would feel you, yeah.
I started looking into it, talking to different people in the field, and I'm getting the same answer that, no, you can't broadcast to this.
No.
We picked the spot that we set down. She did not, purposely take us to this spot. We were kind of wandering, and I really was the one that kind of took us to where we ended up to sit there on the bridge. So, but anyway, the other part of it is I'm thinking, okay, so were there any Ohio captains killed at Gettysburg?
Right.
That'll be a good start. And by the way, I'm big into connections when things happen.
Mm-hmm.
So I researched. Yeah, there were 7 Ohio captains who were killed or mortally wounded at Gettysburg. One of them, and I was quite startled when I saw the name, was Malin Briggs. 3 syllables, very clear on, kind of an S at the end.
Oh, wow.
So the thing about Malin Briggs, he was shot, very badly wounded on the first day of the battle, captured. He was with the 75th Ohio, captured by the Confederates. When the Confederates were retreating, they had taken some of their wounded prisoners, ended up around Sachs Bridge. Malin Briggs died on July 3rd, the final day of the battle. He may well have died at Sachs Bridge.
Right. We do have a caller on the line. It's one of our regular callers. Always has great questions. How you doing tonight, Zach?
I'm doing pretty good, brother. How you doing?
Doing good. I'm gonna wish you a happy birthday coming up. I was told your birthday comes up in 2 days.
Oh, well, thank you, man. I appreciate that.
Well, since we can't say, since your birthday doesn't fall on the show, I just want to say happy birthday to you now. All right. I know you always got good questions, so shoot away.
Hey, Don, it's very nice to meet you. I just have one question, and if you guys want to as well, I'll share my own Gettysburg story when I was actually out there last October.
Oh, awesome.
Don, my question to you is, based on your own experiences and the different stories that you've collected over the years, where does a majority of the experiences at the Gettysburg battlefield, where do a significant majority of them occur?
In my personal experience, Little Round Top, that area, and also Barlow's Knoll, and also East Cemetery Hill. Those are my 3 hot spots. Now, overall, from what I've heard talking to people and so forth, Devil's Den, the Triangular Field, and the Wheat Field are perhaps the most active. The Pickett's Charge area is also highly active.
I definitely hear you on that. So I would like to also share my Gettysburg story. When I went out there last October, the first stop that we made before we went out to the battlefield, my fiance and I, we went over to the Veterans Cemetery. It's not that far over from the battlefield. And we were getting towards the end of the cemetery. And my fiance said, well, I've got to take some pictures. She's a photographer, so that's her thing. And just as she said that, I turned around, actually, and I looked at one of the trees that was near there, and I saw somebody just looking at me from behind that tree. It was unkept brown hair, brown beard. All I could really see was just a head and a neck. And it lasted for only 3 seconds. And the figure just went behind the tree and vanished. And I ran immediately right over towards that tree, and there was nobody there. And there was a fence that was right behind the tree. So if somebody had escaped, I mean, we could see him right away. And it scared the living daylights out of me. I told my fiance, I'm like, let's just get out of here right now. Let's get out of here. Huh. And she didn't understand it. She's like, no, I want to take some pictures. And I'm like, no, let's get out of here right now. And she got mad at me for it. And I mean, we left and all that. And later on in the car, I explained to her what I saw. And I mean, she understood it completely. And I mean, she was still mad at me, of course, but I mean, she understood it fully. And apart from that, I mean, nothing else really happened when we were on the tour. I mean, there were times when, like, her camera would go out of focus and then it wouldn't snap the picture, just in certain moments over on the battlefield. But I mean, then we go over to another location and then her camera will work just fine. Whether that part's paranormal or not, I can't really say for sure. But yeah. I mean, that's a little bit of my own experience when I went out to Gettysburg last time. So I just wanted to share that.
That's an awesome story.
Yeah, I appreciate you sharing it. Yeah, I don't know. I have never seen an apparition beyond a shadow, so I don't know how I would react if I would see one.
Yeah, it took me by surprise. I was just like, let's just get out of here right now. Let's get out of here.
I would have been mad at you, Zach. I'd be like, you made me run. There's ghosts like appearing, and I have a camera, and you made me leave. I would have been hitting you in the arm. But yeah, that's a typical, most people's reaction. You see something like that, it's, especially a head, just a head, it's freaky.
Yeah, I have a friend who saw just what appeared to be a coat of a Confederate cavalryman riding a horse, only you couldn't see the horse, you couldn't see anything beyond just the jacket of the soldier.
So odd. I always wonder about the elements because they talk about ghosts in pictures and people seeing ghosts where like half their form is missing, sometimes the face is missing, and if it's an intelligent haunting and it's making itself appear, does it have to have some kind of mental focus to make that happen? Does it have to know what its face looked like? Does it have to know how does that work is what it makes you wonder. Or if it's just a replay, is the replay only recording the coat for some reason? I really like the coat. I don't know. Well, thank you, Zach, for calling in.
Hey, thank you so much for allowing me to call in. Don, I love hearing everything that you're saying, man. I'd love to hear more. Thank you so much for coming on tonight. And thank you once again, Jason, for allowing me to call in.
Oh, anytime, man. And have a good birthday in a couple days.
Thank you, Zach.
All right, guys. Have a good night.
You too. But it makes you wonder when people do talk about these stories. I've talked about this on the show, I know before, but it's all right. Is the pictures. I've seen a lot of the old time pictures, or not say old time, the ghosts that look like they're from the old time. It'd be a modern picture, but it's a ghost, and the ghost is missing its face. Like everything else, the clothes, everything else is really clear, but the face is really distorted. And I always wondered, if it's a ghost manifesting itself. Well, especially for the old times, mirrors weren't people had mirrors, but it wasn't a lot of everybody was looking at themselves. It's not like today where we're all taking selfies and looking at our picture all the time, or know what our face looks like. Back then, it's not that they didn't know what their face, but they weren't looking at it all the time. And so when they're trying to recreate themselves, you wonder if that's the part they just can't get right because it's their own face and never really look at it.
Yeah, that makes sense. I had never thought of it that way, but it makes perfect sense.
It's the dynamic. I'm always interested by the dynamics of the paranormal and ghosts and how they manifest. What is it in nature they're able to use to make that happen? What can we do to help them make that happen? Because the proof is in the pudding, and I believe, and I've had those experiences like the worker who saw the little girl ghost. I've seen a little girl ghost, more than a number of times in my life, and for the people that have never seen it, it's like you want that video proof. You want that evidence to show them this is real. Maybe just because you haven't experienced doesn't mean it's not there. It's like you want that proof, but it's so hard to have it at the right time to capture. It seems like these scenes are just so fleeting and happen at the most unusual times.
Yeah, and I have to share a follow-up. I had mentioned earlier my experience at the Alabama Monument, that little round top with the camera with the song coming on.
Yeah.
Well, after my experience there and so forth, I was rather curious. My mom is from Alabama, and I knew I had Alabama ancestors in the Civil War, but the ones that I had researched on my grandmother's side had all been in the Western theater, and I didn't have any awareness of any family being in the Eastern theater in the Army of Northern Virginia. So I did some research, and I found some family connections in Law's Alabama Brigade. Ironically, that's the brigade that attacked Little Round Top. Oh. And I had found a number. I wasn't sure of the relationship at this point. I hadn't delved fully into the families, and I also didn't know if any of them were present at Gettysburg. But so while we're there, since we'd had the experience at Sachs Bridge, I'm thinking paranormal now. So my grandson and I go to the Alabama Monument after dark, and actually it was the 1st of April. It was the first day you could go there late enough to be there after dark. I put a CD of the Leonard Skinner song Sweet Home Alabama on the CD, but before I did that, both Connor and I took photos of the monument, and none of our photos showed anything. So I put the CD on, turned it up rather loud, and then I started reading the names of the people I believed I was related to who were in Law's Alabama Brigade.
Oh, yeah.
My grandson, I think he took 15 pictures while I did that. 3 of them had orbs in them. None of them before did. I turned the music off. We both took pictures afterward. No orbs. So that's kind of curious. So we then drove the short distance to Little Round Top. I stopped my van, rolled the windows down, turned it off. My grandson was looking up the slopes of Little Round Top. We're right where the 15th Alabama Regiment attacked on their first move up the hill. And my grandson took 5 photos as quickly as he could. Couldn't see anything with the naked eye, but when he played them back, you could see there were 8 orbs, very clear. Some of them even had tails, like they were heading toward a point in front of us. Mm-hmm. And then at that point, the next 4 pictures, there was a yellowish, reddish, orangish mist, and it grew with each photograph.
Oh, wow.
And my grandson talked to the ghost on the spirit box and didn't faze him a bit. That freaked him out. He just said, "Grandpa, let's get out of here."
Oh, wow.
Ironically, my camera would not work. This is a totally different camera
right.
than we had. So we left, but later on I delved much more fully into what happened in my family connections, and my great-great-grandfather, 4 greats to Connor, was captured at Little Round Top as a member of the 15th Alabama. He would have been captured very close to that spot. He survived the war. He did not die there. He ended up escaping from Point Lookout, Maryland prison camp and making his way back to his regiment.
Oh, wow. That had to be an incredible story of its own.
Yeah, and if we had not had that experience and the earlier experience at the Alabama Monument, I don't know that I'd have been led to delve further into the family connections and found that out.
Now, are those photos, you said those photos are in the book?
They're in the book, yes.
Oh, wow. To me, the proof is in the pudding. Now, I'm not a big fan of orbs,
I'm not either,
Yeah.
but I am a trained. I took all the photojournalism classes. I've loved photography, and I'm very skeptical of orbs, but certain orbs at certain times, these I have no doubt are paranormal.
And that's what I said. I'm not like one of the things we have of my paranormal group, Midwest Paranormal, is we have like a little symbol for no orbs, like an across through it, or orbs and across through it. It's like I'm not totally against orbs, because I've seen evidence that's very interesting when it concerns that some people say it's just dust, but other times there seems to be some intelligence to it. My friend Katrina Cooper, we've talked about it. She's a medium, and she'll be like, it's right here, and she'll hold her hand out, and they'll take a picture. It's happened more than once, and the orb's right like in her hand. So explain. I think what it is it could still be dust, but it could be paranormal. And I know, again, another thing I've said on this show many times, but what is dust? An orb is dust. What does dust attract to? Static electricity. And a lot of people report static electricity phenomenon, electromagnetic phenomenon, when it comes to the paranormal and entities. Maybe that picture's picking up that dust like that there because it's attracted to the spirit that's right there. It's a possibility.
And I just know that I have very, very rarely gotten orbs in my photographs. Years ago, I took a lot of sports photography, including football photos at night. You get, early football games, late summer, dry conditions. You get dust. Very rarely. The only time I really recall getting very many orbs is just on a rainy night, or
and that's common.
Oh yeah, exactly.
And pollen in the air to do. You get the colored orbs from pollen and stuff in the air.
And there, or you'll get almost like it's raining orbs. Yeah, with the pollen.
Oh yeah, for sure. But like I said, I do believe there is something to orbs. I'm not totally against orbs, but as an investigator, I've had so many people come to me with pictures of, like, I got a picture of a ghost, and it's an orb picture, and it's usually on their cell phone with a tiny little camera on that cell phone that's really susceptible to taking orb pictures.
And I'm with you on being skeptical. If there's not some corroborating, evidence or circumstances to go with it, I'm very skeptical as well.
Yeah.
One that I just love. This just happened last fall. My wife and I were at Gettysburg. We were at the 107th Ohio Regiment's position, which that's a whole story in and of itself, and I wouldn't have time to go into it tonight. But I had an EMF meter, and my wife was taking photos, and she got a lot of orbs, and again, only at this spot, just a little ways down where other troops were there, we didn't get orbs. So I don't know about that, but I have my EMF meter. I said, if anyone's here with us, I'm going to count to 3. If you touch this box and you make this needle move, I'll know you're here. And on the count of 3, the needle moved. My wife took a photo, and there's a large orb right above the EMF meter.
Oh, yeah.
And
right as it's going off, too? Because I've had that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's great.
And right after that, we tried getting some EVPs, and my wife is talking. This was an all-German regiment. My wife is saying, I have German heritage. I'm proud of my German heritage. Are you proud to be German? And we got as an EVP. Like, wow.
See, that's my favorite evidence is EVP. I love electronic voice phenomenon. I don't go anywhere without a recorder on an investigation. That's my number one piece of equipment. I love audio. And I love capturing EVPs. My dream is to go to Gettysburg with even if I could just go with a recorder, I'd be happy. Just to try to do some EVP work there, because that's my favorite form of evidence. So getting into this, you started bringing recorders. Have you gotten other EVPs in that doing it?
I have not had generally good luck with EVPs. I don't know what it is, but I've had very good luck with a spirit box, including very near where that orb was taken. I had a spirit box on Barlow's Knoll. A friend of mine was with me, and we're just asking. I'm asking, is anyone here with us? Getting nothing. I'm about ready to give up, and this was broad daylight. And then I got yes. I said, "Oh, what's your name?" "Christopher." "Well, what's your full name, Christopher?" Christopher couldn't understand it. I kept saying, "I'm sorry, couldn't understand you. What was your full name?" I wish I would have thought to just ask, "What's your last name?" But I wasn't quite that quick with it. But I finally gave up, couldn't understand it. But said, "Were you hit, Christopher?" And I got, a long, unintelligible answer. I said, "I'm sorry, Christopher, I couldn't understand you." Well, first he said yes, and I said, "Were you hit?" And I said, "Where were you hit?" Got the long answer. Then I said, "I'm sorry, Christopher, I couldn't understand you. Where were you hit?" He said, "In the arm." So I said, "Where are you from, Christopher?" And again, I couldn't understand it. It was just unintelligible, which is the downside of the spirit box sometimes. But so I started naming off the northern states that had regiments in that spot. No responses. My friend said, it was a Georgia brigade that overran this position. Maybe he was a Confederate. And I said, "Are you from Georgia, Christopher?" He said, "I am." I mean, very, very loud and almost sounding angry. And then we got nothing. We could get no response after that. It's almost like I kind of torqued him off.
But the spirit. That's why it's why I love doing the Spirit Box Live on the show. It's that interaction. You start getting that interaction back and forth. It's the closest thing to just being able to talk to to a spirit on the other side. I think that's why so many people love it. I love EVPs just because it's able to create audio out of a thin air. But obviously Gettysburg is a lot of outdoor locations. And knowing for doing EVP, I have to throw out a lot of stuff that might be EVPs or not, but I don't know because there's just so much noise contamination when you're outside.
Get the traffic, the wind,
the crickets and animals, and
that's probably why I have not had good luck with EVPs, because almost exclusively I have used the recorders outdoors.
Oh yeah. There's so many places I want to do that are outdoors, but that's why we turn to spirit boxes a lot of times for those kind of investigations, because the EVP stuff just gets thrown out. Because I'm not sure, but I have gotten some good EVPs outdoors. It's just they have to be really good for me to accept them. Because of all the contamination when you're outside. I just want to remind the audience, we are talking to Don Allison, journalist and author of I Met a Ghost at Gettysburg. If you want to call in and ask John a question before we end here in just a little bit, you can call in on Skype lines. IDs are Soup Live Chat 800 Live Chat, and there's the audio-only Skype ID, OOJBland00 or OOJBLAND00. You can call in and ask Don a question before we end. We got about 18 more minutes. So doing this too, you get into the equipment, doing the spirit boxes and stuff, recording it and doing the evidence. Did you have you ever compiled this evidence and posted it anywhere for people to check out when it comes to the audio stuff and the spirit boxes?
No, I have not, and that's something I want to get into. I'll have to confess I'm not, when it comes to some of that technology, I'm just not well versed. I'm more versed in the printing technology.
Right.
But yeah, I definitely want to do more, especially the German EVP.
Oh yeah, I love foreign language EVPs.
The spirit box, I want to, and I've been dealt with Robert Murphy. I don't know if you're familiar with him. He's very well versed in the spirit box on setting up so that when I use it there at Gettysburg, I'll be able to record the results.
Oh, yeah, it's important. You always want to record the spirit box results, because sometimes there's stuff that comes across you didn't hear in real time that comes through the spirit box. Sometimes there's stuff you just don't hear, and it actually uses the spirit box to make EVPs. It's incredible. So, yeah, you always want to record.
And I just haven't gotten to that point. And my expertise is not in investigating. It is much more in talking to folks. I've related my personal experiences a lot, exploring connections. I've got like I say, I could give you a whole spiel on the 107th Ohio and my experiences that kind of led me to look into their story.
Well, let's talk a little bit about that before we run out of time. I'd like to hear.
They are, I had no interest in them. Actually, they were brigaded with the 75th Ohio, where Malin Briggs, the captain I talked about earlier, was wounded. And I just happened to be on Barlow's Knoll taking photos of the monuments of those units. I thought, well, I'll get the 107th was in their brigade. There again, an orb thing, but this is broad daylight. I got 3 orbs with the monument there where the 107th was, which I didn't give it a whole lot of credence. It could have been anything could cause an orb, like we've talked about. But so then later we go to East Cemetery Hill. That is where that brigade, after they were totally mauled, they were just overrun by vastly superior numbers of Confederates. This German regiment and all the regiments really in that brigade held together through all this. They're running through the streets of Gettysburg, getting blasted from behind, and they fall back to East Cemetery Hill. And this German regiment, their brigade commander did not like them, had been discriminating against them since he had taken command, didn't like that they're German, didn't like their colonel because he was a very intelligent man. He was an attorney, but he did not enunciate properly, giving the commands. But anyway, they get back to East Cemetery Hill, and I didn't know any of this at the time, other than that the unit did fall back. So I'm walking around looking at the 75th Ohio position, and I thought, the 107th, from the markers, they were up the side of the hill here. So I'm walking along. I had a friend with me. He was down looking at some other things, and I had the same experience that I had at Jonesboro, Georgia, where all of a sudden I was just overwhelmed, and all I could see were muzzle blasts in my mind's eye, just like it's dark, but there's blasts, and the confusion and the yelling, and I could just sense the terror and what was going on. And again, I was so weak I couldn't move. I thought I was going to fall over. I'm kind of on the side of a hill. And my friend noticed me standing there and came over toward me, and the same kind of thing. He says, "Are you okay?" And I couldn't speak. I'm just trying to get my bearings. And it took, I don't doubt this took 10 minutes for me to just be able to speak.
Seen that happen to an investigator. It's called a walk-in experience, and Judy, has been on the show with me as a co-host, as an investigator in my town. I watched her experience something very similar to that, where she couldn't talk or move for like a whole minute or more, and she got like these. She actually had memory loss of the night after that. Like she didn't remember things she said and did.
Yeah, I didn't have that, but it took me a good hour to really regain my energy. I mean, it took probably 10 minutes before I could talk and start to move again. And luckily, my friend was very understanding. At the time, I didn't know hardly anything about that part of the battle. And when I got home, I was curious, so I started looking into it. One thing that was odd, shortly after I went home, within like 2 or 3 days, I gave a speech in a nearby library, and a good friend of mine, a Civil War historian, heard me speak. I did not mention the 107th Ohio, that this all happened after my book came out. But he comes up to me afterward and says, "Oh, it's neat you were just at Gettysburg." He says, "I've been researching the Ohio units that were there, and did you know the 107th Ohio had a regiment from Williams in Defiance County? That's our area."
Oh, wow.
And I thought, well, that's an interesting connection. So I start researching, and what happened on the second day's battle, the 107th was overrun by the Louisiana Tigers at night. I had no clue, hence the muzzle blast, flash.
Yeah, because nighttime battles weren't as common,
No. I would not have anticipated that, and I had no knowledge of it. That's the weird part, that was accurate.
Yeah, when you said it was nighttime, I was thinking, I'm like, well, that has to be a pretty specific kind of battle because there wasn't a lot of that. Most of the time, they stuck to the day to battle because it's not like they had flashlights back then.
But yeah, I researched pretty thoroughly what all this unit went through, and they were treated very badly. Their colonel was arrested and charged with cowardice.
Oh, jeez.
It's like, because his brigade commander didn't like him. He was acquitted, rightfully so, but still, these poor guys were, denigrated, and they went through pure hell 2 days in a row. They held together. On the second day, they got pushed back among the Union artillery. They got some reinforcements, but they stayed together, and they helped repel the Confederates and retook their line.
Well, a lot of immigrants were coming over on the boats, and as soon as they get off the boat, there was somebody from the Union to recruit them. And
exactly.
So you have a whole battalion of immigrants, and the people that were native, they felt native, usually treated them pretty badly.
Yeah, and these guys, and their brigade commander was, I guess the best way I could say it, was an elite Easterner. And he did not like them and didn't want them as part of his brigade, said he couldn't rely on them. It was just terrible. And I feel, and that's part of what seems to happen to me, especially at Gettysburg, that people want their stories told.
Yeah.
Seems like the Alabamians wanted their story told. Now, I didn't find out about my great-great-grandfather and the connection until after my last book came out, so this will be in my upcoming book.
I say, there's going to be another book.
Yeah, for sure. I'm working on it now. I didn't intend to write another paranormal book initially. I thought, okay, I've explored the field now. I'll move on to something else. But it wasn't.
It's not how it works in the paranormal, my friend. It's not how it works.
I found that out very clearly.
It's like once you open that Pandora's box door and you go down the rabbit hole, the paranormal, it's amazing where it leads you to, and it's more questions. And that's why we, this show's been going for 3 years, and I think hopefully I'll keep doing this for a long time, because this is the topic of ghosts and spirits and all the other paranormal soup topics that we talk about. It just, there's always more questions, and you wonder, are we ever going to know the answers to that before we die? Are we going to be able to prove the existence of the afterlife and these spirits? I mean, if there's one place I think we'll get the best paranormal evidence in this country is on the Civil War battlefields, is the Gettysburg, because most of the paranormal experiences, or these residual hauntings or even intelligent hauntings, usually revolve around places of high emotional energy. And what better place than the battlefields of Gettysburg? The emotion there had to be so intense.
Yeah, very much so. And one of the theories that I find intriguing about Gettysburg is it's very rocky and a high quartz content. And that's one of the theories, is that, the quartz is able to store that energy.
Right.
Like a quartz battery in a watch. I find that intriguing.
Well, where I live in Michigan City, Indiana, and our beach the sand is like a high quartz content, really high quartz content. And there's paranormal stories around the dunes and stuff. There's the Lady of the Dunes. People see this naked lady running across the road, and that ghost has been around for a long time, based off a woman who did live out there at one time. And you wonder, natural things. They talk about limestone also being able to be a natural way of that records or makes paranormal activity happen in quartz. You wonder what is the sediment of Gettysburg? What's there that could help increase it too?
Yeah, that's quite likely. Actually, our house is built on a sand ridge, one of the old Lake Erie beach ridges from, the post-glacial times. So that may enter into why my house is so active.
Yeah, it could. A lot of the really serious paranormal investigators, especially the parapsychologists, ones that really they really go with the land and the environment theory of how it affects the paranormal and makes activity happen. They go with more towards that than they believe in spirits. It's more some physical phenomenon we don't understand by the laws of physics yet. Don, I do want to give you the floor. We're getting closer to the end showtime. If you want to give out information where people can find your book. I mean, we get all the links, people, also in our Facebook event. I don't know if I got Jamie in the chat room on Discord for LNM to share that right now. I don't have the ability to. But we have all the links on our Facebook page. But go ahead and tell people where they can find your books, where they can reach you. Lay it all out.
Yeah, sure. As far as the Metaghost Gettysburg book, if they don't have it stocked anywhere books are sold, they can easily order it for you. It's available on Amazon and really through about any major online book retailer as well. You can order it at one of my websites, www.imetaghost.com would be the best one for this book, and you can learn more about me and the book there as well.
Yeah, and if you come out with a second book, I'd love to have you back on to talk more about it. And I am a video, audio, tech kind of guy. If you ever need help figuring out how to approach posting evidence you have, whether it be audio or video, reach me. Email me or message me on Facebook. I'll give you any advice I can to help.
I appreciate that because people have been helpful, but yeah, that's really what I need is someone with me, probably investigating, who can handle the equipment, and at least until I get more versed with it. But pretty much I've been more of a this is my personal experience kind of guy. Some things with mediums that there's no way really to document, but boy, they've been right on the money.
Oh yeah, it's incredible. Sometimes, like I said, I have friends and guests have been on the show. It's incredible what mediums pick up on and are able to tell you. And I found one of the most interesting stories was your medium story tonight when you talked about the spirit that the little girl from your house following you. It makes you wonder as how many, we call it in our paranormal group, we call it ghost contamination. People carry certain spirits with them. They picked up other places. You wonder if you picked up any spirits that are following you from Gettysburg.
Yeah, I really haven't had any uptick in activities here, following Gettysburg trips. The things here seem to have been the things that have been here from the beginning. But yeah, I always wonder if that might happen. I make frequent trips to Gettysburg. I was just there about a month ago doing an investigation, which was rather interesting. See,
I'd be interested, just purely getting your audio clips together of, if you start getting more EVPs or your audio, you start recording your spirit box sessions, having you on the show and playing some of that evidence, because we love sharing, especially EVP evidence on this show. So if you're ever interested in that, I'd be willing to help you get it all together, and I can play it all on the show.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I definitely would be interested, and if you're ever contemplating a trip to Gettysburg, you're not terribly far from me, actually. I'm in extreme northwest Ohio. So.
Oh, yeah.
But if you're ever heading that way, I make frequent trips there to promote the book. So.
Well, yeah, I will definitely let you know. I know me and my wife, it's definitely on our list. We've talked about it so much about where to go. We end up, wanting to go before we had children. We have children now. For little kids, it's not Disney World for them.
Yeah.
So that's what's holding us back. Maybe when they get older and they appreciate history, like you took your grandson when he's 14. I hope my son, when he's 14, is going to be like, yeah, Dad, let's go ghost hunting. He actually right now wants to go ghost hunting really bad, but I won't let him. Maybe if I took him to Gettysburg when he's a little bit older and he appreciates it.
Yeah.
I still got a 2-year-old I got to deal with, but.
Oh, yeah. We took our young boys to Perryville, Kentucky once, and the most exciting thing there was this digger machine in the playground.
Right. It's like, come on, kids, we're hunting ghosts. They're like, what? We want an amusement park rides. Like Disney World's Haunted Mansion, not the real Haunted Mansion. But thank you so much, Don, for being on. Like I said, just reach out to me if you need help trying to figure out anything out when you're trying to get your evidence together or whatever. I'm always willing to help anybody with that. That goes out to anybody. My email is oojbland@yahoo.com. If you ever got a question for me or guest suggestion, you can send it there. And or you need help on a technical aspect. I love helping people with the tech stuff as much. I'm not the biggest techie, but I know a little bit to be dangerous. Well, thank you, Don. Again, like I said, love to have you back on the show.
Great. I'd love to be back. Had a good time tonight. Thanks for having me.
Anytime, man. And I definitely want to check out the book. I Met a Ghost at Gettysburg. And, one day I will get to go there. Hopefully I'll read your book before I go, and I'll know the whole lay of the land.
There's a lot to see.
I bet.
Plan on spending at least a few days if you really want to experience it.
one day I want to get a whole week to go there and just, EVP recording sessions galore. I'll have like a week's worth of more to review when I get back, but I want to do it one day. I will get to Gettysburg. It's definitely on the top of my list of places as an investigator. I have to go to.
It's kind of the holy grail of America's haunted places.
It is. It truly is. I mean, like I said, so much history, so many of the ghost stories end up revolving around the Civil War and battlefields themselves. There's so many stories around them it's like I don't feel like I've completed my rite of passage as a paranormal investigator until I get to go to Gettysburg. That's how deep down I've always felt about it. So it's like I got to get there. When I knew I was going to have you as a guest, it's like, it just reminds me again that I've not been to Gettysburg, and I need to go. I need to go.
Well, good luck, and I hope you make it there.
One day. Well, again, thank you, Don. For everybody tonight, next week, Paranormal Soup. I need to talk to Mr. Neely himself, Daryl. We had talked about doing a Dogman show maybe next Sunday. I'm hoping maybe that's still going to get together. If you're listening, Katie or Daryl, get with me. Find out if that's still going on. We can do a Dogman show next Sunday. Otherwise, might do a live IT show. I don't know, but I'm hoping we got the Dogman show. I really want to do a show on Dogman. It's so interesting to me. All right, guys. Thanks for listening tonight. Thanks for watching. You can check us out at Midwest Paranormal Presents Paranormal Soup Facebook page. We're on YouTube under just Paranormal Soup. That's where we just have the show archives. We're only live as a webcast on Facebook. YouTube no more, but just as an archive. So you can check us out there if you want to watch the edited episodes down. And then, of course, we stream out the Late Night in the Midlands Radio Network every Sunday night, 11 p.m. to 1 a.m. Eastern and 10 p.m. to midnight Central Time. Check us out there. Don't forget to go to LateNightInTheMidlandsRadioNetwork.com. Subscribe, donate, do what you can to help keep this network going. All right, guys, we'll see you next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. Have a great night.